NASCAR season is upon us, but unfortunately, even though real NASCAR is done, we are still racing virtually throughout the course of the week, leading up, of course, to the start of next season. As tonight, we bring you coverage of the NASCAR 06 Total Team Control NASCAR Cup Series Custom Schedule season. And tonight, it is going to be race number 13 of 36, and it is going to be at Daytona Beach. But now, on the High Bank 2.5 mile super speedway, it's going to be on the streets, a street course race at Daytona under the lights. We're going to get this thing started. No practice, no qualifying. We're rolling right into this race tonight. You can see the points at the top of the screen as well as the wins list. Our driver, Greg Biffle, coming in with back-to-back wins. 2 straight wins in which he had a last lap pass for the victory. One in a race in which he had to come back from way behind at one point after a bad pit strategy in the first 2/3 of the race. And that took place at the Devil's Canyon Speedway 2 weeks ago. And then last week on the channel, the last stream we did on Thursday night, a thriller at Michigan, a last lap pass 3 wide off the exit of turn 4, and Greg Biffle went from 5th to 1st in the final 2 laps and went from 4th to 1st in the final quarter of the race. He ended up getting the win after leading only 38 laps on the day despite qualifying on the pole. So 2 straight thrilling wins, 2 straight last lap passes to get the win for Greg Biffle. We'll see if he can go 3 in a row. He's starting deep in the field in this one. True Assassin 86X, Wade Solinsky, Joshua Rumsey, and others, welcome into the stream. Thanks for being the first in the chat. Let's get this race underway this evening. Subway paint scheme on the car for Greg Biffle. The green flag is going to be in the air. Jeff Gordon will be on the pole, and we're underway at Daytona Beach. 133 laps in this race. A big stack up off the start. Greg Biffle's actually going to let Ryan Newman and Jason Leffler go just because I have not ran any practice laps for today's race. So really just kind of sitting at the rear of the field, waiting to see how this race car is going to handle. And there were quite a few stack-ups in those first couple corners, but no contact, at least at the very back of the field. A little bit of dirt these guys are going to be racing on in that little short chute. We're crossing the tunnel and then back underneath the bridge. Mark DeMar, Sam Monty, thanks for tuning in. Jacob NASCAR, welcome. What's with the echo? I don't know of an echo. I don't know why it's echoing. I didn't know it was echoing. Let me know for a couple other people in the chat if it's echoing a little more. Contact between Jason Leffler, John Andretti, back-to-back corners. Greg Biffle going to try to really get his way up on the outside lane, trying to make some passes into this final corner. Mark Martin, deep dive, pulling line right behind the 22 of Scott Wimmer. And lap 1 going to be in the books. And Jeff Gordon will lead the opening lap of the race. Again, from the pole. Side by side between Biffle and Andretti into turn 1. Biffle on the outside. That'll give him the inside, the next corner. Now he's underneath Jason Leffler and then his teammate Mark Martin. A couple more passes made. Clears Martin. Gets alongside the 22 of Scott Wimmer. Side by side in the tunnel. It's going to be the tightest area of the racetrack to run side by side. Biffle trying to do so. He's making a lot of contact. Nobody wrecking, luckily, and everybody keeps control of their race cars. Got the echo, too. Give me a second. I don't know why it's doing that. It shouldn't be echoing. Talking about a mic at a concert. I don't know why it's echoing. Let me try to figure this out real quick. Oh, that's why. Alright, let me know if that's better. It's because I had 2 mics. I had 2 mics up for whatever reason on OBS, even though I only had 1. Big time crossover. That was not going to work. Biffle's car got really loose, still trying to catch it. Car gets very floaty in the bridge areas of this racetrack. On that overpass right now, looking to make some passes for position. Gordon's still out in front. Going across the speed bumps and the rumble strips. Will contact 3 wide into the final corners. Biffle up to 27th after just 2 laps already. Car's quick if he can get out into the clean air, I do believe. It's kind of the case at the Devil's Canyon, too. He had clean air in that one. He was unbeatable. It's just he had bad pit strategy, which kind of put him behind the 8 ball, but he came from a lap down to win. Survived a late accident, of course, that kind of bunched the field back together again. Ricky Rudd overdriving the corner, heading into the dirt as he slides with all 4 tires into the wall on the exit of the corner. Trying to get alongside Biffle again. Zachary K, Ethan, also welcome into the stream. Yeah, I don't know why I had 2 mics up on OBS, even though I only had 1 plugged in. I didn't get Legato merch on. Jeff Green going to be passed by Biffle. Oh, Biffle hard into the wall. He overdrove the corner. He never really lifted, and as a result of not lifting, he ended up making contact with the wall, but luckily he kept it off the other cars that were around him in that area. Got Jeff Green alongside of him right now. This should get Biffle down to the bottom underneath Green into the next corner. He'll stay on the inside heading towards turn 1. It's going to put him on the outside, though, into turn 2 if he can't get down to the bottom and clear Michael Waltrip, which he does not. Oh, big block on Waltrip, who almost wrecked, and now we do have a wreck in the tunnel. After contact between Waltrip and Biffle in a parking lot now with nowhere to go, and multiple cars are just getting slammed by other cars who can't see in the oncoming smoke. Look at this. There's like 3 or 4 cars upside down in the tunnel as they were just driving underneath one another. I mean, there was nowhere to go. It's such a tight area. The track to run side by side, and after the contact between the 15 and the 16, neither one could keep control of their race car. So we have a caution for the first time in the race. This will stack the field up once again. We were only a couple laps in when the caution came out. We'll have a single file restart this time. Green flag back in the air, and I'm sure we'll probably see some debris cautions after that. So lap 4 caution. And there are quite a few cars with damage right now. Luckily, Biffle actually didn't end up with too much damage. You can see the damage on the left side of his race car. There are a lot more cars behind him that piled in that had nowhere to go. It definitely got the worst of it. I'm going to try not to go side by side into that corner anymore. Jeff Green hoods flies off for second caution. I think that's very likely. Across the speed bumps, really looking to taking advantage of this situation right now. Dale Jarrett, who's still in the top 5 in points, right around Biffle. Biffle underneath his teammate now, Carl Edwards. And they'll be side by side in the second to last corner. Biffle not getting a lot of room up there on the outside. He overdrove that corner big time into the wall. Had a net loss of positions. Jeff Green was able to get back around him. It's a 133 lap race. A little bump to the left rear corner panel of Jeff Green's car. I'm surprised Green didn't try to take a swing at Biffle. He's trying to side draft him, though, and Biffle does not want to be side-by-side going through here again. Luckily, he clears him. Yeah, the hood on Jeff Green's car is very much crinkled. I mean, I didn't get to watch the game. I knew they were pretty bad. Obviously, they lost 4 games in a row leading up to playing the Lions yesterday, so I thought they were going to win. I mean, I had picked them to win in my contest, and now I'm only down to 1 entry left, so I know not to pick the Packers again this year because they are garbage. Luckily, I picked the Eagles to win their Thursday night game, so I'm still alive. Still have 1 entry left. Biffle trying to squeeze underneath Truex. Truex not giving him a lot of room. Biffle lifted to try to give himself a little bit of space off the exit of the corner to keep from potentially running into that guardrail. There's Elliott Sadler on the inside of the track. He comes into today's race with 4 straight top 3 finishes, including a win in that stretch. Finished at third at Michigan in the last race. And Edwards and Sadler going side by side right now under the dirt area of the track. Biffle to the inside of Martin Truex Jr. for 18th, I do believe. Jeff Gordon, the class of the field early on, though. I think after qualifying, it was pretty safe to say. Oh, man. Biffle a little heavier into the corner. Making contact with Dale Jr. and Kenny Wallace. Trying to muscle his way through here. Drives it in deep. 3 wide now underneath Matt Kenseth and Kyle Petty. Not a lot of room for Biffle to make these corners right now, but he's keeping it off his teammate, and he'll have him clear into the next corner. Couple cars going wide. Boris said Shane Meal. Biffle in line right in front of Sed and right behind the 08 of Shane Meal. Meal going to go wide in turn 2. Biffle underneath him. And Biffle with a clean pass on the 08 car to move up to 12th. Alan Barkley, thanks for tuning in. I mean, the Xfinity race, honestly, was one of the best Xfinity races I've seen in person. I put it second right behind Bristol last season. Some of the moves that were made late in that race, like when Allmendinger went 3 wide and kind of split the gap up the middle. It was somewhere around 20 to go on one of the restarts, but he went 3 wide pretty much. He cleared the 9 on the outside off of turn 4 and then kind of cut, or cleared him on the inside and then kind of cut to the outside of the 54 Gibbs and ended up, I can't remember if he took the lead off of that or not, but just that move, and there were some sparks when he bottomed out off the corner. I looked at the guy next to me and he looked at me too. We just looked at each other simultaneously with our mouths open like, oh my god, how do you do that? So that was definitely the best race of the week. I didn't get to see the truck race, unfortunately. I watched the highlights. It seemed like a really good race, so I'm kind of bummed out and missed it. And I honestly thought the Cup race was pretty boring the first half of the race. From about the last 112 laps, it picked up a little bit, but then it kind of ended somewhat anticlimactically because I kind of felt that Blaney wasn't going to try to really get around Logano with the one of Chastain closing in there late, so I didn't think there was any chance for Chastain to get to him. I knew he wasn't going to try to wall ride going into the corner because, I mean, they're just going way too fast mid-corners at Phoenix to be able to do that. Caution's going to be out for the second time tonight, and it will be taking place at lap 12, so 2 early cautions in this one. They're Daytona Beach Street Course race, and it's debris off the 43 of Jeff Green, his hood. Mark DeMars, you called that one. Yeah, we noticed there was a lot of damage on that 43 car from the first accident, and now he'll shed some debris just a few laps after the restart. Go Force Racing, thanks for tuning in. Seth Thomas, welcome in also. we will have another restart coming up. Might have to switch teams. I don't switch teams. As a Detroit fan in any other sport, I've been through a lot of losing before. It's just weird that the Packers are doing that now. It's weird that the Michigan Wolverines are now my football team I can count on winning on a weekly basis, and not the Packers. So it's kind of a strange ties for sure. Roles are reversed. Where Saturday football is more entertaining for me to watch than Sunday football. As a fan of my teams, my favorite teams. So lap 16 restart here. Again, Jeff Gordon out in front of the field. He's, again, been the class of the field this entire race so far. If we'll pick it up one spot on Sterling Marlin on the restart. Yeah, the wings are doing really, really well right now. Oh, 3 wide under Mayfield. A little contact. Biffle pushed the issue. That knocked Mayfield sideways, too, after the contact with the 19. How about Mike Bliss in 4th? He has 10 straight top 10 finishes. He's 3rd in points for a reason coming into this race today. Can he make it 11 straight top 10s? He's only got 2 top 5s in that stretch, but he's been very consistent in the back half of the top 10 for most races this year. Biffle will get around him for 4th and clear him. Johnson throwing a bit of a block on Biffle. Biffle getting squeezed by the 0 of Bliss. We'll go to Matt Kenseth for the first time in the race today. And we'll take our first field pass of the race on lap 17. Kenseth back in 12th. I think Kurt Busch and Greg Biffle are the only 2 Roush cars in the top 10 right now. I think Kurt Busch is up there. Large single file line through most of the top 10. Marlin trying to get around Mayfield. Not really able to do it. Kenseth's got a nice little run on Kyle Busch. We'll see if he can get underneath him side by side as they head towards the rumble strips in a couple corners. Harvick's got a big run on the 40 and the 20. 3 wide goes Kenseth. We've seen 3 wide a couple times. I don't think they've really made it without contact. Slight bit of contact there, but nothing too major. Kenseth drives on. And Kenseth's going to pick up some spots out of it. Squeezes his way underneath Tony Stewart. Mayfield 3 wide now. How are these guys going to make it through this next corner? Kenseth just going to have to fall in line behind Mayfield. Kevin Harvick right in the middle of it. Mayfield's holding on strong with Stewart right there. Stewart has to pull in line now behind the 19. Kenseth to the outside of the 20. But good run in turn 2, though, with Mayfield stuck on the outside and Tony Stewart down low, making some headway. And they're going to be side by side in the tunnel. Last time we saw that, there was contact and there was a wreck. There's contact that time, but no wreck. Mayfield's kind of holding these guys up. I do believe Kenseth had a big catch, and now they're 3 wide. Harvick's going to make it past Stewart and Kenseth. And Stewart into the wall as he overdrives the next corner. Marlin and Kyle Busch will get around him. Stewart's dropping like a rock all of a sudden. After failing to pass Mayfield for about a half a lap. He's been passed by 4 cars now behind him, failing to get around the 19. Casey Mears is in 2nd. Yeah, I didn't see that, honestly. That'd be highly impressive if that is the case. He's coming off his first top 10 of the season with a 10th place finish at Michigan. Oh, wow, that was a big door check by Mayfield. He just turned down. Oh, and he hits Kenseth again. And he's into the tire barrier. Cautions out. Jeremy Mayfield all over the place. And has crashed into the tire barrier at the front of pit road. Kenseth missed him and the barrier trying to get back onto the racetrack without getting shoved into the pits. What was wrong with Jeremy Mayfield there? I mean, he door slammed Kenseth 2 corners in a row. And he wasn't even a rival, but Mayfield has crashed, bringing out our 3rd caution of the race. Again, all in the early going. Kurt Busch, not Casey Mears. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm liking how the Red Wings are playing. I thought Blashill should have been fired a while ago, honestly. A couple years before he actually did. Not saying that was the only reason wrong with Detroit. They're still really young, but I think they're proving that they're young and talented. And we've kind of known this for a while, we meaning Detroit fans, hockey fans, but we'll see where they can go going forward. Hopefully they can keep this momentum up. Definitely the best start they've had in a really, really long time, probably the mid-2010s. Harvick overdriving, trying to get back to Matt Kenseth in the 17. Jeff Gordon's led all 21 laps so far. Jeremy Mayfield's arrival with Matt Kenseth, even though Mayfield was the reason for the contact of all that. Patty and Rumdy Creations, thanks for tuning in. Oh my gosh, and we got another wreck. Labonte just gets knocked into the 19 of Mayfield, and that turns the 19 car around. And caution's out again. Mayfield kind of deserved that, as well as his tire wall hit after knocking Kenseth out of the way a couple times. I'm glad the 18 was able to recover, but Mayfield got to go around, and he has been the cause of the last 2 cautions now. 4 yellows already today. Man, Tyler Burbeck, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in, by the way, Patty. Appreciate that comment. Yeah, unfortunately, no real race commentary coming until the Busch Clash in February. And we'll have another restart. Both Labonte and Mayfield going to keep their spots on the restart right in front of Kenseth. Biffle to the inside of Mike Bliss. Kevin Harvick going to overdrive the corner. Luckily, Marlon was... Oh my gosh, I thought Mayfield was going to try to take it 3 wide there for a second. A little contact with Labonte. Kenseth's just going to lift and let Labonte go. No need to force the issue right now with all the cautions we've seen in the early going of this race. Nobody's had to hit pit road yet. Everybody trying to keep their track position at the front of the field. Yeah, I didn't hear about Steve Letart's situation until I saw a comment from somebody on one of the videos, like, later this afternoon, from what I uploaded at the track. No clue he didn't commentate the Cup race. My gosh. We've got another caution. I slammed the inside wall and then ricocheted into Mike Bliss, and I couldn't get off of him after I made contact with him. And it looked like Kyle Petty got a piece of it as well. Piece of the right rear of Kenseth's race car. This is an ugly race so far. Hopefully we can clean things up and actually get some green flag racing in. We'll try to set it up again. Kenseth's still going to restart in 7th, lap 30, green flag back in the air. We've had 5 cautions already in the early going of this race today. Try to be a little bit more patient here. Oh, well, right as I say that, Labonte just about turned the 19 of Mayfield, and Kenseth's going to get around them both. He forced his way in there after the 18 and the 19 made contact. There's so much room open off the exit of turn 2. Kenseth felt like he had to go for it. Now he'll settle in 5th, right behind his teammates of Greg Biffle, Kurt Busch. Both the Hendrick Chevys of Gordon and Johnson are up there as well. Not great corner there for Kenseth. Back into the on-throttle section of the racetrack. Across the bridge where the car typically gets light. Harvick gonna think about going up the middle. 3 wide between Mike Bliss and Jeremy Mayfield. I don't know if they're going to make it all the way through these set of corners. They're no longer 3 wide as they head through the S's and back into the rumble strips. No Hendrick Chevy has won through the first 12 races of the season. Gordon, by a nose, finished second to Greg Biffle in the last race. They're leading a lot of laps late in that race. Biffle looking to get around Johnson after Johnson could not get around Kurt Busch. Jimmy squeezes a 16. I know I've been stuck with him because I haven't been able to get any green flag laps in with him. A couple of them. I usually try to do 4 per swap. We'll go one more lap with the 17, and then we'll transfer to Kurt Busch next. Means he's in second. We'll try to get him to the lead. Gordon leading every lap thus far. Might be a shot. Kenseth might be able to get by Biffle and Johnson here. Inside lane opened up quickly. He hasn't cleared the 48 yet, and he's not going to after that contact with the wall either. Unfortunately. Johnson's still going to be on the outside of Kenseth. Kenseth going to outbreak him into that first turn on the rumble strips, and Kenseth's up to P3. Now underneath his teammate Kurt Busch, and does Kenseth have a shot at the lead? Gordon overruns the corner. Now Busch and Kenseth making contact. Kenseth will not be able to get to the lead before we swap to Kurt. Kenseth will hang on to third, though, I do believe, in front of Jimmy Johnson. And back to single file through the top 5 again. Gordon going a bit wide. Turn 2, Kurt Busch for the lead. Contact. And Busch is out in front of Gordon. See if Kurt can pull away in the clean air. Kenseth going for second underneath Jeff Gordon now as they enter into the S's. Side by side for second. Kenseth trying to fill that gap. So after a slow start for the Roush cars, they're starting to pick it up just a little bit. They just got to survive the early carnage that we've seen so far in this race. 12 likes on the stream so far. 22 people currently watching. We're still about 100 to go in this one tonight. Thank you for tuning in, and glad to be back with the live streams. Coming back from Phoenix. I definitely want to go back to Phoenix next year and try to redemptify myself from the trip this weekend, because it was a bit too chaotic for my liking. The race, I mean, going to the racetrack, and when I was actually at the track, I had a lot of fun this weekend, but man, outside of it, it was a nightmare. I mean, even Saturday night trying to leave the track and get a ride back, I ended up hooking up with these couple people that were also waiting for Uber. There were a couple hundred people that were waiting for like taxis and Lyfts and Ubers and stuff leaving the track, and nobody was like picking anybody up. Nobody was coming in. Everybody kept getting canceled, and it's probably because of all the traffic. They didn't want to have to like drive through and come back and then drive out of it and go back. So it was hard to get a ride back. I was at the track probably 2 hours Saturday after the race before I even left, just waiting for a pickup. Sunday was like the easiest day, travel-wise. And I thought that was going to be the most hectic day going into it, because I knew I had my flight later that night after the race, but I had no issues. Race got done fairly quick because there wasn't a lot of cautions. So I think the race was done in like 2 hours, 45 minutes, so that actually kind of helped me out. I gave myself like an extra 45 minutes of like I had to leave basically 45 minutes after the race actually ended, so I was hoping it wasn't going to go extra long, but ended up actually being a little bit shorter what I thought it was going to be. Why didn't I get a rental car? Hindsight's 20/20, guys. I feel like I did get a lot of comments about that. I had taken Uber when I went to Fontana earlier this year and had no problems with it. I had zero problems with Uber when I went to Auto Club, and that was the only other time I had used it because I always drive everywhere I go. So that's why I honestly didn't do it this time around or even look into it. I know some states it doesn't allow, I'm not allowed to rent a car because I'm not 25 years old yet. I didn't look into Arizona. I know some people were saying that Arizona I could when I was looking at comments and stuff. But, yeah, I mean, you just don't know that's going to happen until it happens. So it's easier to say I should have rented a car in hindsight, which going forward I will, so this doesn't happen again. But like I said, Fontana, I didn't have any issues with it. But for some reason this weekend at Phoenix, I had a bunch of issues with, you know, trying to get a ride to and from the track on Friday and Saturday. So luckily I didn't miss the race on Saturday, but I missed the race on Friday. Unfortunately it happened, and I won't let it happen again. I'll rent a car going forward. And I just thought cost efficiently it was going to be more cost efficient for me to go Uber, and that's why I went with the route I did. And, you know, looking back on it, I wish I would have done it different, but can't expect that to happen though at the same time either. Edwards next, all right. I'll go there next. Finish this lap out with Kurt Busch. Busch out to a 2.3 second lead. Michigan was the same thing. Where am I right now? I mean, I'm at my house. I'm at home. My flight was last night. I got home at like 3 in the morning. My time. Then I stayed up. Uploaded those race highlight videos. Not too many people have watched those race highlight videos from Saturday and Sunday. I know I uploaded them very early in the morning. I couldn't get them out right away just because of, you know, all the scheduling conflicts I had this weekend. So definitely make sure you check those out if you haven't already. One of them did really well, but that was one I was able to upload though on Saturday when I got back to the hotel. The longer videos I couldn't upload because my internet was too slow at the hotel I was staying at. I'm not tired right now. I was tired last night when I got home, but not going to bed till like 4:15 in the morning. Felt like a slob waking up at like 1 o'clock, but I had to make sure I got some sleep. I mean, I still only had less than 9 hours of sleep today. Which, I mean, I had like an average amount of sleep for a night. It's just I couldn't go to bed till late. I'm not a night owl, so that felt really weird for me doing that. Barely had enough time to golf today. Losing an hour this weekend, too. Bully your local enterprise car. Sorry I didn't go back to Edwards that last lap. I'll make sure I do it this time. Kurt Busch running away with it, though. He might be the class of the field now. I thought it was Jeff Gordon, but Gordon didn't really pull out to a big lead, even though he led about the first 30 laps of this race. All those cautions, he was leading a lot of them under yellow, but one of the longest green flag runs of the race in the early going right now. We'll go back to Edwards in the 99 car next, as he sits in 9th. So 4 Roush cars inside the top 10. They had a bit of a slow start, but now Kurt Busch leads. Ken's at the Biffle in the top 5, and Edwards is in 9th. Looking to get around Tony Stewart. A little contact with the 20. Stewart's been bullied quite a bit in this one right now. By Kenseth and now by Edwards. By Mayfield a little bit too earlier. No, I didn't rent a car this weekend. That's what they're saying in the chat is I should have. Like I said, Fontana had no problems with it, so going into Phoenix this weekend, I figured it was another, you know, bigger city that I didn't think I was going to have any issues with it. I felt like there was going to be a lot of rides. It wasn't that there wasn't rides available, it's just they kept canceling on me. Oh, Mike Bliss just about hooks the 99. Well, he did hook him, but Edwards holds on to it. Harvick almost gets by on the outside, but Edwards keeps his positioning in 6th place. Did a great job not spinning out after that contact to the right rear corner panel of his race car from Mike Bliss. Bliss lost that spot to Harvick after the contact. That costed him more than it costed Edwards. Yeah, my bad. I meant to say I gained an hour. I said lost an hour. Lost an hour of daylight is what I meant to say. Because it gets darker an hour sooner now. I gained an hour, but I lost an hour of daylight in the afternoon. That's why I didn't have a lot of time to golf today for when I got up. Reaction video will be out on the channel tomorrow because I didn't get home at 4, but you can plan on them being on Mondays going forward throughout the off-season. Billy Carjoy, Billy Kramer, welcome into the stream. Kenseth, Biffle trying to get by Jimmy Johnson. Battling for position. Edwards down low. Hugging the inside. 4 cars under a blanket right now, battling for 3rd. Edwards is going to back out. He's going to play it smart. He's going to try to get him over the next couple laps. Try not to have any accidents so we can get longer into this green flag run. Get some good racing in. Edwards to the inside of Greg Biffle. Johnson going wide right in front of the 16, which left the bottom so wide open. And it's going to be side by side into the bridge between the 48 and the 99. Edwards scrapes the wall a bit. Can get a lot of room for the 48 of Johnson to make those corners, and they end up making more contact with one another. Edwards up to 5th. Johnson falls back to about 8th. Bliss is back to 6th, getting by Harvick, who ended up in the wall after overdriving the last corner right before the S's. Johnson was crowding Greg Biffle Carl Edwards rather, quite a bit. Edwards going to get by the 16 car for 4th. The only non-Roush car in the top 5 right now is Jeff Gordon in 2nd. One more lap with Edwards, and then we'll go to Mark Martin in the 6th. He's again the only Roush car not in the top 5 right now. Edwards on the inside of Kenseth. Kenseth gave him a lot more room than Johnson. That's just the respect between the 2 Roush Fenway teammates of the 99 and the 17. And up to 3rd place is Carl Edwards, trying to move forward. We got a slow car right now, by the way, on the front stretch trying to get to pit road. So somebody has blown an engine somewhere in the field. Edwards closing in on the 24 of Gordon, but I don't think he's going to get there and actually pass him before we go to Martin at the start-finish line. He will not. Both Gordon and Edwards, though, closing in on Kurt Busch. And back to Mark Martin we go. Martin back in 29th as of right now. We are 40 laps complete, 5 cautions already in the early going of tonight's race. Brandon Martinez, welcome into the stream also. No, Logano's not in this game. Wall scraping there. Going into the tunnel. Working on Brian Vickers in the 25. He'll get around him for position. Little mistake. Martin's definitely faster than a lot of the cars around him right now, and that's why he's making some pretty bold moves. I mean, you got to consider the fact his other teammates are much further up in the running order than he is, and he's back at 22nd. Make that 21st. Halfway in fuel right now for Martin. Kurt Busch still in the lead. Kyle Busch is really falling back. He was in the back half of the top 10 a little earlier in the race. I don't know if he got caught up in any of the accidents that we had earlier. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Surprised through all 5 cautions, we've only had 1 debris yellow. Casey Mears out of line on the bottom. He gets hooked by Mark Martin, and that sends him into Busch on the outside, and cautions out for the 6th time. They were side by side, and they checked up a lot more than what I thought they were going to, and Martin just ran right into the back of Casey Mears, which hooked him into the 5 of Busch. And around they both go, bringing out another yellow. Looked like the 199 had packed into the back of the 5 car as well. So we have yet another caution. And we'll see if the field will pit this time. And they will, so Martin will pit also. Four tires and fuel. No adjustments. We'll see what the pit crew can do for Martin here. Six yellows, and we're not even to lap 50 yet. In this road course race, contact off pit road between Rusty Wallace and Kyle Busch. I think everybody hit pit road. I don't think anybody stayed out, like our crew chief stated. Green flag going to be back in the air. Martin's crew lost him. Actually, didn't really lose him any spots. We have a net gain of 0. There's some cars behind him that will restart in front of him, but there's also some that were in front that will restart behind. Contact between Martin and Wallace. Martin going to let Rusty go into the tunnel. That'll be side by side. I'm trying to get smarter and smarter as this race goes and try to figure out, you know, what the best corners are to pass on this racetrack, really. Where they're checking up more, that I can try to gain an advantage without running into them. That's not a caution Kurt Busch wanted, because he had a pretty decent lead over the cars behind him. That is not the case anymore. Martin going to get by Rusty Wallace. Looking on Kyle Busch. One more lap with Martin once we get to the start-finish. See, that's not what I'm trying to do. Somehow Martin saved that. I don't know how he didn't get turned off the front bumper of Kyle Busch's race car after hitting the wall and ricocheting back into traffic. Martin sits in 17th. We might get him in the top 15. Where we go back to Greg Biffle. Patrick Shadley, thanks for tuning in. Contact, and that's how the last caution started, but luckily the 199 did not crash into Elliott Sadler. Martin just overrated it in the wall right after that. Goodness gracious. We'll go back to Biffle at the start-finish line. Biffle in 10th place. He must have lost some spots on pit road. Either that or lost a few spots during the restart. Started at the tail end of the field. He has not led yet. 48 laps to work his way up to where he's at right now. Not as many green flag laps with the 6 cautions we've had. The most recent green flag run, though, was the longest one of the race. Biffle underneath Bliss after getting by Tony Stewart. Locking those tires up just a bit as he tries to pull alongside Matt Kenseth after clearing Jimmy Johnson in the 48. Kurt Busch still holding on to the lead on the restart. Contact between the Fenway teammates of Kenseth and Biffle that time. And with a deep dive trying to get around Edwards after Gordon lost some spots on pit road as well. He slides wide, and Biffle may have a chance to get underneath him. Not quite. Biffle is back up to 6th, and we have a caution back in the pack off the final corner, it looked like. And now we have 7 cautions in today's race. That was not on me that time or anywhere around me. Oh, Jason Leffler, I believe? Yeah, Leffler hits the tire barrier. Second car that's hit the tire barrier at the front of pit road. First it was Jeremy Mayfield earlier. And now Jason Leffler. This one was off a restart, though. Mayfield's was not. So caution is out for the 7th time, and I would imagine the field will stay out after just pitting for the first time not long ago. Green flag back in the air. Lap 53 on the restart, by the way. 81 laps to go. Gordon stayed wide in turn 1. Turn 2, he didn't get down to the bottom. Biffle gets around him cleanly for 5th. Dale Jr. up inside the top 5 for the first time. He's in 3rd. Right behind Kevin Harvick and Kurt Busch. And Busch has to survive yet another restart. It's like quite a few laps now. Slowly catching Gordon for that most laps led after Gordon qualified on the pole. We're going to stay in front of the 24 and right behind his teammate in the 99. Biffle looking low underneath Edwards. He's going to try to make this pass into the next corner, and he will. Quickly makes the pass on Carl Edwards for 4th. And dives underneath Dale Jr. looking for 3rd. Busch trying to block the 29 of Kevin Harvick towards the outside in the next corner. Biffle clears the 8. He's alongside Harvick, and Greg Biffle might have a shot to go for the lead here before long. Kurt with a block. There's contact. Biffle's going to get to the lead. But he can't hold on to it. So he's kind of trying to regather himself after Kurt Busch chopped him off. And Kurt Busch lost the lead on his own terrible block on his teammate of all drivers there. And that's going to give Kevin Harvick his first lead of the race. Junior making a little contact with his teammate now. Edwards still on the bottom as Biffle was hung up on the outside pretty much from the contact with Kurt Busch, and he was unable to regather himself until he got back into fourth. And then finally found his way back in line in front of Jeff Gordon after Edwards had cleared him. Biffle thought about it. Didn't have enough of a run there on Edwards that time. Try to get by Edwards, same corner he did the last lap. Dale Jr. trying to go for his first lead of the race. Underneath the 29 of Kevin Harvick. Biffle clears Edwards, hits his marks down to the bottom this time. Now he'll get underneath Jr. at a little bit different spot than what he did the last time. Doesn't want to get chopped off down on the bottom in this next corner. He does not. Remains in third. Jr. going wide. Biffle looking low off that final corner for second place as Harvick continues to lead at lap 55. Biffle on the bottom in turn 1, though. He'll be on the top in turn 2 with Jr. underneath him. Harvick overdrives turn 2 now. Jr.'s got a big run off the exit of the corner. Harvick with a block and holds on as the top 3 stay single file as they go under the tunnel. So a big crash in the tunnel earlier today. A parking lot wreck at that. Biffle's got a run on Earnhardt. Can't squeeze underneath him. He knew there was a tight corner coming up that outside of teammates, they haven't really given each other much room in that corner today when trying to make some passes. Best area to pass is definitely in the final third of this racetrack. When you get up into the S's and across those rumble strips, the track tends to widen out a bit. Then it closes quickly onto the main straightaway. Junior Harvick, side by side for the lead. Biffle to the bottom. Now they're 3 wide for the lead as they head for the rumble strips. Both Earnhardt and Biffle looking for their first leads of the race. Biffle trying to give them room. They're still 3 wide. Harvick now in the middle. Junior on the bottom, and Biffle has the lead. What a move by the 16. His first lead of the race after 55 laps of coming through the field. He's finally there. And Greg Biffle will lead his first lap of the day. And not by much, because Dale Jr. had a run there. Harvick makes contact with Earnhardt. Earnhardt's off wide. I think he kept it on the track. But Harvick's up to second after they make contact in that battle for second place. Now allows Biffle to pull away a bit. A little less pressure on him heading into these next couple corners, it appears. We'll see if Biffle can try to drive away from the field, kind of like he did at the Devil's Canyon when he was leading at times in that race, which was just 2 races ago. So a Daytona doubleheader. We have the Daytona Beach Street Course race tonight. Then tomorrow night on the channel, we'll have the Pepsi 400 at Daytona on this NASCAR 6 custom schedule season for that summer Daytona oval race. And then we'll actually have back-to-back super speedways, as after that we go to Talladega for the second of 3 Talladega races on our Cup schedule as well. So a lot of fun racing action coming up here on this Cup Series custom schedule season over the next couple races still. Had a couple last lap passes for the win for Greg Biffle in these last 2 races, and he's trying to get his way forward as he's finally leading for the first time today. Took him 55 laps to get to the lead, but really looking to settle in now for the first time. We'll alternate through the different camera angles for the first time today, as Biffle's already out to about a 1.1 second lead into turn 1 at lap 57, just 2 laps after taking the lead. Michael Turner, thanks for tuning in tonight. We still don't know exactly what that fuel window is, just because of all the cautions we had in the early going of the race. Really kind of prolonged that first fuel run out. And they weren't even down to a quarter tank of gas left when they ended up pitting during, I believe, the 5th caution they pitted during. We have had, if I'm not mistaken, 7 cautions so far tonight. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it is 7 now. Maybe 6. Yeah, the Bruins are looking really good this season. I'm not just saying that because they creamed Detroit last week. Have they even lost a home game yet? They were like 6-0 at home to start. 6-0-0 at home. $45-50 without cautions. So it should be a 2-stop race by those calculations. Should be. We'll see if it'll remain a 2-stop race though, because they didn't go the full run. I guess it was kind of hard to tell who the class of the field was with all the cautions and all the restarts we had earlier, but at first looked like Gordon, then Kurt Busch, and now it's looking like it's Greg Biffle. Still another pit stop out from the finish, though, as well. So we'll have to just continue to kind of wait and see. Down to about 75 laps left in this one here tonight. And we'll be halfway here before long. Yeah, I'll definitely be going to some Red Wings games this offseason. NASCAR offseason again. I only went to one last year, but they're a lot better this year, so I'll have more meaning to go, I guess. Some of the days I have off of work. It is coincidental that Greg Biffle had a Subway paint scheme. Not this exact Subway paint scheme, but he had a Subway paint scheme when he won at the Devil's Canyon. Next road course, here we are. Although this is more of a street course, but I guess the Devil's Canyon is almost like a street course the way it was. More countryside than street side. Gotta hope there's less and less cautions as this race progresses, just for the sake that I do have the lead, and it's been absolutely chaotic on every restart so far in this one. If we could just survive the restarts and maintain this track position as best as he possibly can. It's gonna be tough to beat the 16 tonight. Biffle tries to go for 3 wins in a row. He did that once very early in the year. He won the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th races of the year, but then he went 9 races without winning before winning the last 2 at the Devil's Canyon and then at Michigan. So he's picking it up a little bit, although those were last lap passes for the win in 2 very different circumstances. Today not having to hopefully come in that clutch, and we'll see how that'll work out for him. Stars leading the Central Division. I haven't checked the standings exactly in the last, well, really since I left for Phoenix. Saw Detroit won the last few. I did watch their game Thursday night against the Capitals, but being out of town, I haven't been able to watch the last 2 games. Steve Chumler, thanks for tuning in. I'm doing great today. A bit of a slow start to the morning just because I had to sleep in from trying to catch back up. Having a late flight and trying to get used to Eastern time zone after being out. Well, first it was like I was Pacific time zone because I was 3 hours behind, and then it ended up being 2 hours behind because Arizona doesn't have a time zone and Ohio does. And so that kind of threw me off a little bit coming back home last night. I knew it was going to be late, but kind of forgot it was going to be as late as what it was. My flight did get delayed by 50 minutes too, though, so that also kind of prolonged. Like, I probably could have gotten home closer to 2 o'clock rather than 3. But I made it home safely, so that's all that really matters. Grand scheme of things. Notice from a caution standpoint, it's kind of slowed down a little bit the last few races. We've had 5 cautions in the last 3 races so far in this season. We're very early in the year. We were seeing a lot of yellows, and then we come in tonight, and we've already had 6 or 7 cautions. We're not even halfway. And of course, we have back-to-back super speedways next, so that could go really either way as well. Pepsi 400 at Daytona, where I'm going to try to end my Daytona losing skid. If I win this race, that's not going to count. Just like when we ran the Daytona infield road course earlier this season. And I did win that. That was the 2nd race of the year. That doesn't count for me winning at Daytona on an EA Sports NASCAR game. So, have not won on Daytona on the Oval on an EA Sports NASCAR game. And hopefully tomorrow night we can break that curse and we can finally get the job done. It's not going to be easy, but we'll see what we can do. 4-second lead and growing up for Greg Biffle. Definitely in the clean air. He's got the fastest car in the field. It's just in traffic. It can be tough. It's just so hard to pass here without contact. We've seen that pretty much all day today. There's going to be one more pit stop, so a chance to make some adjustments for the field to try to close in on Biffle on speed, but they weren't really trying to catch him at first because he didn't take the lead until lap 55. It just took him a while to get through the field with no practice or qualifying, and all the cautions, not giving him too many green flag laps for him to try to work his way through the field. Combination of all that, but he's here now and still has a shot to lead the most laps today because although it took him 55 laps on a street course to take the lead, this is a 133-lap race. He can still go on to lead almost 80 laps today. I think Gordon has led the most. He led about 30 laps, maybe just a couple more than 30 before he lost the lead to Kurt Busch. Busch had the lead for about 20 laps, and then Harvick led for a few before Biffle took the lead. So we've had 4 different leaders so far in the race. $70 laps to go at this point in the race right now. And in a handful of laps, a little less than that even, we'll be halfway through this race. And we will have a trivia question on the channel, but I will have to look it up. Be officially halfway at lap 67, so a few laps away yet. Biffle continues to grow the lead. Over 5 seconds at a second place. Really make you want to pull out PS2 Play Thunder 2003. Back up in the closet for now. Hey, if it works, it's well worth the nostalgia trip, I'll tell you that much. It's crazy, even from, you know, that game from the 2002 season to this 2005 season, what a big difference there is in the driver roster. That was the only Thunder game I never played. But just thinking of the drivers that were there at that time. And even if there's, you know, the same drivers, just the different cars they're driving in too. Smokey in the Pot, thanks for tuning in. Again, we'll be officially halfway this time by at the start-finish line, and then I'll pause it and I'll try to find a trivia question for you guys tonight on the channel. We're putting in a good performance in the middle portion of this race. Took him a while to get going, but he has led about 12 consecutive laps now and is really pulling away. And if you have missed any of the race so far, we've had 6 or 7 cautions. I believe we're at 7, but we could be at 6, kind of miscounted. We had quite a few in a row there for a little bit, especially being this early in the race and having that many yellows. I mean, that's an average of a caution every 11 or less laps at the point at which we have ran so far. And this is the longest green flag run of the race, if I'm not mistaken, as we have gone about 13 laps since the last restart. And counting, assuming Biffle makes it to the start-finish line with no problems behind him this time, which will be the case. I'll wait till I get through turn 2 to pause it, so that way I'll make a mistake pausing it in the middle of the corner. And I will find that trivia question for you guys. I think it'll be a Daytona track fact, just with being at a Daytona Beach street course race. So let's go Daytona racing reference, and I'll try to find you guys a trivia question. I think I have the question for you guys, but I need to find the answer first because I'm not entirely sure what the answer is. Alright, I have the answer. I was assuming it could have been that, but that'd have to be it. Alright, so tonight's trivia question on the channel is this. Who is the last driver to lead the most laps and win the Daytona 500? Name the year they won it and name the driver who won that race. So, again, in what year and what driver, or I should say name the year and name the driver who last led the most laps in the Daytona 500 and won the race. It's going to be the trivia question tonight. I'll give you guys till the end of lap 70 to answer the question. Last driver to lead the most laps and win the 500. Name the year and the driver. We'll see who can get it first, and as usual, I'll shout you guys out, or whoever gets it first. I have to see it first in the chat. It is not Dale Sr. in 98. That'd be a long time. That'd be a long time to go without anybody leading the most laps and winning the 500. That is not the year, though. Or the driver. I have no clue if he even led the most laps that year. I'd imagine. I mean, he led a lot. It is not 98. I've seen a couple 98s. It is not 1998. It is not Michael Waltrip in 2001. It is not who has led the most laps, like, not the most laps ever in one. I'm saying, like, just the most laps led in that race, as well as winning it. Senior did 98. He's not the most recent, though, I'll tell you that much. But it's not Richard Petty either. He's not the most recent. Most recent driver to lead the most laps and win the Daytona 500 in the same season. I thought I said most recent in the question. I know I meant to. It's not Waltrip in 03 either. It's not Dale Jr. in 2014. Not Jimmy Johnson 2013. That's a good guess because there weren't a lot of lead changes in that race. But he is not the most recent. I'm assuming he led the most laps that day because there weren't that many different leaders. Not Logano in 15. Not Dale Jr. in 2004. And the question tonight for those of you just tuning in, the trivia question is, who is the most recent driver to lead the most laps and win the Daytona 500 in the same season? You have to name the year and the driver. You have until the end of lap 70 in our race tonight to get that trivia question correct. Haven't seen the answer yet. You guys have a little over a lap to get it done, so about 2 more minutes. It's not Dale Jarrett in 2000. That's also another good guess because there wasn't a lot of lead changes in that race either. That is not the most recent. Patty has gotten the question correct. Yep, Denny Hamlin in 2020. Denny Hamlin in 2020 was the most recent driver to lead the most laps and win the Daytona 500. He led 79 of the 200 laps that day en route to his 3rd career Daytona 500 victory. Good job, Patty, getting the trivia question correct. Surprised a lot of people were going with some answers there in the early 2000s and the late 90s, thinking that that was the last time it had happened. Me, 2023. I like that answer. It's not correct, but I like it. Yeah, Denny Hamlin. Talk about back in the 60s. No, I wasn't saying like all-time most laps led in the 500. It was just who was the most recent driver to win the race and lead the most laps. Honestly thought it's been that long. I mean, I can understand why you would think that, because you would think that super speedway racing's more of a lottery now, but even though it kind of is, it isn't at the same time. I mean, even look at Talladega this year in the fall. The 2 guys who led the most laps ended up finishing 1st and 2nd, Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney. So, I mean, you still have those super speedway races for sure where the best driver, the best car wins the race and goes out and kind of dominates. There's some comers and goers throughout, but they're still able to find a way to lead like a third or more of the race. We'll have another Daytona trivia question tomorrow night with us running the Pepsi 400 on NASCAR 06 for next custom schedule season race. How long has Ryan Blaney been racing for? 2015 was his first year, but his first full-time season was 2016. He only ran a part-time schedule with the Wood brothers. He actually ran 2 races in 2014 with Penske also, but those seasons don't count. I think 2015 technically counts as his rookie season because he ran the amount of races you could run to be considered and eligible to be a rookie, but he didn't run the full season that year though either, so he wasn't eligible for the playoffs if he had won a race or anything like that. So I don't really consider that his first. I really consider 2016 his first season. It was his first full-time season. I think Talladega would be cool if they had one night race. Like if their regular season race was at night, then their playoff race was during the day. Just because it's during football season, it'd be kind of hard to get a night race in that late in the year. Then it'd be colder in October to do it versus if you did it in April or May, where their first race is usually like at the end of April, early May. I think next year it's in late April. I'm not sure if I'm going to the spring Dega race next year or the fall Dega race yet. I've been to both before. I don't know what I'll do next year. I guess it just depends on what other tracks I go to, where the scheduling's more open for me to do it. Yep, his first one was 2017. His only one with the Wood brothers. Yeah, just the midsummer races at night though, I definitely miss those, like Kentucky, Chicagoland. It's just nice going, I mean Daytona even, it was nice middle of the year that there were quite a few night races there for a while. Richmond and Bristol. Auto Club had a night race for a little bit towards the end of summer, right before the playoffs. Atlanta did for a little bit also on that Labor Day weekend. Appreciate that comment, Wade. Yeah, Oscar Ramirez Herrera, thanks for tuning in also. Bubba Wallace to the 18, could you imagine? No, I don't think they're moving him out of 2311. That's kind of 2311's guy in a sense. That would be interesting, though, only because Ty Gibbs has made starts with 2311. But being Joe Gibbs' grandson, you would think that he is going to be in the 18 rather than 2311. You would think, at least. Down to 60 laps to go in this race. Well, halfway on fuel at this point in the run as well. And we are actually going to take our second and final field pass of the race when we get to the start-finish line this time by. The field window going to open up here fairly soon to make it to the end of the race. An 8-second lead, though, for Greg Biffle. Smooth sailing after a wild first third of this race. Things have really calmed down in the second third. During this long green flag run of about 21 laps right now into this green flag run. We got to the lead about 4 laps after the restart. It's been gone. Yeah, and Atlanta coming back to night in the summer next year, that'll be pretty cool for sure. I just always liked them growing up because I never could stay away. Or sorry, I was never allowed to stay awake later at night. But in the summertime, I was allowed to because I didn't have school during the week or school, you know, to deal with. So my parents and, you know, they didn't really care how late I stayed up. So I was always able to stay up and watch those night NASCAR races in the summer. There's always quite a few of them, so kind of a bummer. You know, I guess for kids that isn't the case. I always look forward to that. We're driving as Matt Kenseth right now, who is back in 14th. It's his highest second at one point very early in the race. Trying to regather himself right now as we're at lap 75. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people remember the giant orange fiasco during qualifying. That was a Busch Series qualifying, wasn't it? I don't even think that was a Cup qualifying. I know Scott Haggerty was on the track, but I think he was in the Busch Series. I don't think he was a backmarker in the Cups. I mean, it could have been for Cup, but I think it was a Busch Series qualifying run where that had taken place. Long line of cars right in front of Kenseth, including both the Robert Yates Racing Fords of Sadler and Jarrett. Sadler hasn't really been in the top 10 at all today, so his top 3 streak of 4 races in a row may come to an end. It was Busch Series. Yeah, that's what I thought. What was that, 2002, 2003? I'm going to go with 03. Kenseth's going to look low that he's close enough behind the 38 car of Elliott Sadler to try to make this dive bomb move into the corner. It's going to work out. Jarrett trying to really throw a block on Kenseth and keep that 17 car from trying to get underneath him. Does not happen, though, and Kenseth's going to try to get by the 88 across the rumble strips. He's going to be able to clear him. Almost making contact with Bobby Labonte. Now runs right in line behind the 0 of Mike Bliss. Bliss trying to throw a block on Kenseth and about wrecked him. He just knocked the 17 into the wall. Bliss is up against the wall on the outside, while Kenseth was in the wall on the inside. I'm sure Kenseth did not appreciate that whatsoever. Bliss taking a swing. He's trying to wreck him again. Kenseth going to get by for 13th. Bliss is now outside the top 10. And he's trying, I think he's trying to turn Kenseth. There, he tried to a couple times. He's all over the back of him, across the dirt, back onto the asphalt. Kenseth's going to beat him through the shifts and try to pull back away. Yeah, he was a rival before that of Kenseth, and that's why he tried to take the swing both times there. And it's going to cost Kenseth and Bliss a lot of time, and both Dale Jarrett and Elliott Sadler get by the 0 and the 17. One more lap with Kenseth when we get to the start-finish line this time by. And then we'll swap to one of the other Roush Fenway Fords in the field. Well, the skid marks there going into that second-to-last corner between Bliss and Kenseth that lap before. Kenseth's going to make his way by Elliott Sadler. Closes in on the 88 of Dale Jarrett for 11th. I don't think we're going to get Kenseth into the top 10 before we transfer away from him at the start-finish line this time by, but we'll see. Kenseth trying to back that corner up a little bit. He'll be looking low on Jarrett into the S's. Most of the Roush Fenway Fords have been able to outbreak quite a few cars getting into the S's today, and Kenseth was able to do that on Jarrett. Now closes on the 18 of Bobby Labonte. A couple cars side by side, a little further up ahead. Labonte checked up a lot earlier into the corner than Kenseth was expecting, and he almost got hooked off the front of the 17. And Labonte going to lose a few positions. Jarrett and Sadler going to get by him as well as the 17 of Kenseth, and I guess Kenseth is going to get up to 10th. And we will transfer to Mark Martin in the 6th car next at the start-finish line. Martin back at 16th. Defend on Nemechek going into turn 1. Closing on the back bumper of Rusty Wallace in the 2. I think Mike Bliss is the next spot right in front of these guys at 14th. Well, it's considered Auto Club now, but it's still the same racetrack. Just got a title sponsor. Martin makes the pass on Wallace, and he's back in the top 15. This Mike Bliss isn't a rival with Martin, just Kenseth. Bliss's top 10 streak could come to an end after that bad move on Kenseth now that he's back at 14th, and Martin's going to be looking to get around to first spot as well. He's got some catching up to do in these final nearly 50 laps. Remember, 10 straight top 10s for Bliss coming into the race today. Martin trying to get by the 0. He's keeping up with him. He just can't quite get around him yet. Bliss going to go wide, and Martin's going to get around him in that final corner. Lap 80 at the start-finish line, and he's going to block Bliss down to the bottom and back towards the top. Bliss trying to get alongside him into turn 2, but not going to happen. And Bliss is actually going to overdrive turn 2, so he was nearly out in the grass. And Bobby Labonte got back around Elliott Sadler in the 38 about a lap or 2 ago. Yeah, I remember meeting you. I've only met a few of you guys, so it's pretty easy for me to remember those moments where that was the case. Well, Sadler trying to get back around the 18 of Bobby Labonte. As Mark Martin closes behind both of them as they slow each other up just a bit. Martin took a deep dive into the corner and ended up almost clearing out the 18. Oh, Martin going wide. He's going into the pits. Oh, he did not want to pit there. 4 tires and fuel for Martin. He overcooked the final corner and was about to go into the tire barrier, so he decided just to keep it left and go into the pits to keep from hitting the wall. And it looks like Martin's going to be pitting. He should stay on the lead lap because he's not that far off the lead to be going a lap down once he makes his way off the pit road. But that is not what Mark Martin had intended to do there. He's got fresher tires, but I still think they're just outside the pit window to make it to the end of the race. So I don't think he's going to make it on fuel as we still have a decent amount of laps left. He is back at 40th. He's actually last on track as there's 3 cars out of the race right now. Jeff Green, one of them. Yeah, I'm just not used to those situations where you guys come up to me in person. I probably will once more and more people do it, but I've only had 3 people ever like meet me in person, so those instances, it kind of catches me off guard because I'm there. As a fan, yeah, I'm making content at the track, I guess technically, but I am there as just like a fan in general. So yeah, seeing you guys, it's pretty cool, honestly. I don't think I have like that big of an outreach, I guess, on NASCAR community as far as fans go is what I think I do. So I definitely cherish those moments. Love, thanks for tuning in. See you down in the chat. Welcome to the blooper reel. Yeah, I just blew that corner. Luckily, it was with Martin and not with Biffle. Challenging for position there with Labonte and Sadler, and Martin ended up in the pits. If Martin can make it on fuel to the end of the race and make up quite a bit of time on these fresh tires, that would actually be pretty impressive. I don't think he's going to make up enough time to get to the lead, especially when you consider the fact that he was battling for 13th time, so he's still outside the top 10. He's nearly 20 seconds off the lead. Now he's about 47.3 seconds off the lead. He's got a lot of clean air, at least to work with on these fresh tires. He's catching up to the back of the pack, and we'll get there eventually. He's definitely much faster than Greg Biffle at the front, though, right now. You can definitely see that interval changing, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's a couple seconds faster a lap than the race leaders on his fresher tires right now, because he's probably got close to 40 lap fresher tires than the rest of the field. We'll see what he can do. We'll swap to Carl Edwards in the 99 car next. A lot further up in the running order is Martin. And it looks like he is in 9th, right in front of Dale Jarrett. Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car in front of both the 99 and the 88. Big dive into the corner by Martin. Oh, wow, look at Johnson going with all 4 tires below that yellow line to try and block. Edwards underneath him. Will Jimmy try to... Oh, I think he was going to try to swing at Edwards. Thought better. Oh, now he did. Just popped the 99 into the wall. Edwards going to get by him for 8th. Battling for 12th. Yeah, definitely unfortunate. So Johnson tried to take a swing at Edwards. Mike Blish tried to take a swing at Kenseth during our second and final field pass of the night. So will anybody try to take a swing at Kurt Busch when we transfer to him next? At least there's still a few Roush cars inside the top 10. By the way, 50 laps to go as of right now. So definitely getting closer and closer to that window opening to the end of the race. So I do think Martin's going to be short. I mean, he could probably go fuel only if he just ran it all the way out, too. Pick up a little bit of that time back, but ultimately he's still going to end up losing time, and likelihood of him getting back up inside the top 15 even is going to be very, very difficult. I'd imagine as soon as that window opens up, we're going to see quite a few drivers try to pit as well. And there's one driver trying to pit right now. Looked like Ryan Newman pulling in, giving Edwards another position. I think Kurt Busch in the Irwin Tools number 97 car will be the next car for Edwards to try to catch for 6th. They'll be swapping to Busch here in a couple laps. Yeah, I'm not even going to consider pitting with Biffle until we get to the end of the run, just in case. A mistake there. It is Kurt Busch that Edwards is closing in on. Edwards is about 13.6 seconds behind Greg Biffle in 7th. Granted, he would be in 8th still if Newman didn't pit. We'll see if Kurt Busch will pit this time. He does not. And Edwards going to have to try and pass his teammate upright. Looking low into turn 1. Kurt not giving Edwards a lot of room there. Edwards clipping the grass with the right side tires and has to stay behind him off the exit of turn 2. So does not want to try to make a move into the tunnel. He's going to try to draft off of him as much as he can, heading towards the dirt area of the racetrack. And then wait to try to really pass him here in a couple corners. And he's got a nice run on him right now. Until he got a little loose once he transitioned back to the asphalt. Edwards pulling out of line, and he'll make the pass on Kurt Busch cleanly for 6th. Job well done from the 99. We have one more lap with him, and then we'll transfer to Kurt Busch after that. I don't think he's going to be close enough to catch those next 2 cars battling for position in 4th and 5th in front of him, but we'll see. I think we'll have enough laps with Kurt Busch to be able to do it, but not with Edwards. It's like Tony Stewart is in 5th. And we're down to 46 laps left. The longer this run goes, too, the less worn out the tires are going to be on the final fuel and tire run to the race. Versus if we pitted now, we'd have to go nearly a full run. Remember what it was like for Biffle in that situation at Devil's Canyon, and he had to hold on for dear life, though, those last couple laps. He lucked out, got the win there. I don't know if he can luck out on that same kind of strategy 2 times in a row. It looked like it was going to be a great strategy, but ended up still getting the win. Again, despite being a lap down earlier in the race, too. Edwards now under 10 seconds off the lead. Definitely running some good lap times. Closing in on Gordon and Stewart, but I don't think he's going to get to him in time to make any passes for position here. Stewart a little wide. Going to lose the 24 car just a bit. Gordon pulling away. Edwards will get by Tony Stewart for 5th place there off that final corner. And now back to Kurt Busch we go. So Edwards has driven himself back inside the top 5. We'll have 4 laps with Kurt Busch, then we'll be back with Greg Biffle for the rest of the race after that. As Biffle continues to lead Speedway Boulevard Daytona Beach street course race tonight on NASCAR 06. Our goal of 30 likes on the stream is at 23 right now, so be sure to hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as well. We're ramping things up here and getting closer and closer to the finish of this race. Appreciate that comment, Smokey. Yeah, a lot of people compared me to, like, radio commentators. It's probably because I talk a lot. You don't usually see the TV guys talk as much as I do. But it's also different, though, too, because I have to talk a lot because there's nobody else. There's no color commentator for me to bounce stuff off of. And I don't want too much dead air because that's the case. There isn't 2 or 3 people, you know, commentating my live race commentary streams. It's just me. Edwards still in front of Tony Stewart, but Stewart looking to make a pass on the outside that will not be made. And that's going to open the door down low in this next corner for Kurt Busch to try to get by Stewart. Not going to be able to. There's contact, and Stewart's into the outside wall. I think Kurt Busch kept from hitting the wall, but there was contact enough that nearly turned the 20. And we stay green. Luckily, we don't have another caution as Biffle holds on to his big lead. And Busch still got around him for 6th place as well, but he's going to lose a little bit of ground to the 99 and the 24 at 4th and 5th in front of him. Should have enough time here with a little over a lap and a half to try to catch him before we go back to Greg Biffle for the rest of the race. I tried to undercut him. I accidentally just got into his right rear and about hooked him. I don't know how he didn't wreck. It's almost like the wall just kind of saved him from completely spinning out, which would have brought out a caution, but obviously slowed him down enough that Kurt Busch was still able to get by with keeping it off the wall. Gordon, Busch, Edwards right in between them. Jeez. Oh, Edwards throwing a block on his teammate now. Starting to get a little aggressive again. This juncture of the race. I guess when you're down with a little over 40 laps to go, things are definitely starting to heat up. It's definitely a long race as far as the lap counter goes. About 2 hours into this one, even with the amount of cautions we've seen today. I'm up against the wall a little bit there. Thought he's going to have a shot to get inside the top 5. I think he can get by Edwards, I guess, for 5th still, but don't think he's going to catch Gordon. That contact with Stewart really held him up, but then he had more contact with Edwards the last lap as well. Kurt Busch going for it again, and he gets by Edwards. Barely cleared him with that block in the middle of the S's. I didn't realize it was going to be as close as what it was, but luckily Kurt was clear, and it ended up being a successful move. And a clean one still at that time around. And he closes quickly on Jeff Gordon through the rumble strips, and there's going to be a shot that he can get by this 24 car for position. Undercuts. Gordon, Busch side by side, and Busch going to be clear of Gordon, it looks like, for 4th. There you go. Busch did get the 4th after all. We'll go back to Greg Biffle in the 16 car at the front of the field now at lap 92. The rest of this race will be driving as a 16. Starting to catch up to some lap traffic here at the tail end of the field. I think these are all cars that have already pit, though, so they have fresher tires. Lead is at 3.6 to 3.7 seconds ahead of 2nd place. It was likely to be either Kevin Harvick or Dale Jr. I believe those are the 2 drivers, both running 2nd and 3rd. GC1424, thanks for tuning in. Quarter tank of fuel left for Biffle at this point in the run as well. NASCAR did this, where would the booth be? Gosh, I have no clue. It might be a street course race, but you're right in the sense that there really isn't that many buildings around here. They could probably make one. I would imagine they'd probably artificially make one. I would imagine that that's what they probably do for, like, new street course races for any other motorsports. Like with NASCAR in Chicago next year, I'm pretty sure they'll have kind of like a makeshift one somewhere. Because I think they have to make suites, too. For people that want to buy suites for the event, I think they have to, like, kind of artificially make those, and I think the booth's going to be in one of them. Booth will probably be right there. Right in that building off to the right that we just passed in turn 2. In the sky in the 150th by a crane. $150-foot crane. Not 50th. Going for a Roush top 5. It'd be cool, but our main focus here is Greg Biffle, especially being 4th in the point standings right now, trying to regather ourselves. Biffle's leading there for a few races. He's had a couple DNFs, 2 engine failures, and then a crash out of the Coke 600. That one wasn't my fault, though. I got turned by, who was it that turned me in the middle of that race? I can't even remember anymore. This a few weeks ago now. It wasn't Mike Bliss. Who was it? Sterling Marlin? No. Somebody's going to have to help remind me who I ended up getting turned by in that one. Ricky Rudd, thank you. Yeah, Ricky Rudd turned me. I was like, it's somebody who hasn't won a race this year and like doesn't really compete for a lot of wins when we're playing NASCAR 6. Yeah, he just flat out dumped me. Ended up getting ran into by a couple other cars coming back across the track and flipped and DNF'd. No, I'm talking about in real life, Chicago street course. No, not this. There isn't a Chicago street course in NASCAR 6. Not that I know of. Unless there's a cheat code I don't know about that unlocks it. We're getting slowed up behind that lap car. I think it's the 142. Lap 95 this time by. 39 to go. There is. What track is it that I'm not thinking of? The only other street course on this game that I know of would be Dockside. Walmart cheat code. I didn't know that was Chicago. I guess there's a cheat code. I was shocked. This 142 car is holding up Greg Biffle a ton right now. If we're going to make the pass finally and get around him. About 1/8 of a tank of fuel left for Greg Biffle. A couple of his teammates just pitted with Matt Kenseth and Kurt Busch. They're off and running now. I've heard of the Walmart track, but I didn't know it was Chicago. Like Chicago-based. Lakeshore Drive. Oh, okay. I know that track. I didn't know that was Chicago, though. Okay, I know of that track now that you say that. But yeah, I had no clue it was Chicago-based. I think Dockside San Bernardino, if I remember correctly. I don't know how I remembered that, but I think somewhere in California. I know it's not Los Angeles. It's like a suburban city. Biffle definitely struggling in lap traffic because that leads down to 3.3 seconds. It was an 8-second lead, but all these cars that are right in front of him have already pitted, so they have much fresher tires than the 16. Kyle Busch, Jimmy Spencer just up ahead. And I believe after that, Kyle Petty and Scott Wimmer. .1 second lead, but there are 4 cars right in front of Biffle, and a lot of other cars behind Biffle have already pitted. Another Roush Fenway Ford on pit road right now, and that would be Carl Edwards in the 99. I think with this lap traffic, you're within the final window to the end of the race. If you're Greg Biffle, I think you have to pit because you have to be losing a lot of time to everybody behind you that is already pit. Not only you're on older tires, but you just can't even pass these guys on fresh tires in front of you. They're trying to be extra aggressive in case a caution comes out that they don't get trapped a lap down. And they could cycle back through everybody that is already on pit road again. Biffle alongside Kyle Busch in the 5. Wanted to get down. Yeah, there we go. Gonna have to let Kyle Busch go. Didn't want to wreck there. And into the pits goes Greg Biffle. It'll be his second and final stop of the day. 4 tires of fuel and no adjustments on the 16. Caught in traffic. He got by Busch, then had to let him back go so he can get to the outside lane, which is where the pit entry was at Speedway Boulevard. And Biffle is now on pit road. First green flag stop. The first stop of the race was under caution, which was the 5th yellow of the day, way back before lap 40. These guys were able to go quite a ways on fuel. And he still could have went a few more laps, but it wasn't worth the risk there. 17.2 second stop, not bad. And Biffle will be off and running. Hopefully he's still got the lead. You would have to imagine he will. And he does, but not by much, as he's trying to get up to speed in turn 2. And Dale Jr. is right behind him in second, followed by Harvick, also right there in third. Biffle barely cycling out in the lead as he had stayed out a little bit longer than these cars behind him. Plus lap traffic was slowing him up, but now he's got clean air in front of him again, as he doesn't have anyone close to him as far as the lap traffic is concerned. He's hoping he can really start to pull away here in these final 35 laps to the checkered flag. He was able to pull away once. We'll see if he can do it again. Tires fairly equal right now. It's just a quick enough stop by his crew that he's able to hang on to the lead. Dale Jr. has not led a lap yet today, so he's trying to go for 5 bonus points if he can lead his first lap. He's been outside the top 10 in points most of the season. It has not been a good year for Dale Jr. That's who we ran our first season of this game with, and quite a few wins with him. Unfortunately, did not win the championship. Did in the Busch Series, but not in the Cup side. Also won our first truck championship. Trying to go for our first Cup title with Biffle in this custom schedule season, though, this time around. In the hunt, this is a season-long points format, though, so it's going to be a little bit tougher. Try to keep this consistency through the course of the whole 36-race schedule. A mistake there from Biffle. It's going to give Earnhardt quite a big run. Let's just got to lock in, pull away like he did once before. I wouldn't necessarily say off a building, but I've been interested in skydiving. I don't know. I don't know how that would work. I wouldn't do it by myself, though. Like, I'd only do it with an instructor. Like, just once. I mean, obviously, they don't let you do it by yourself the first time, but I'd be comfortable with somebody, but without somebody, no thanks. Yeah, honestly, this was always my favorite track growing up on the Fantasy Road Course side of things with the EA games. This and Devil's Canyon were my two favorites. I'd probably put this as number one. Am I afraid of heights? I wouldn't say so. I mean, I've been on roller coasters, and obviously I just flew this weekend, and no problems with that. I think it's a little different, though, when you're... I don't have the trust in myself is the big thing. Like, fold under pressure, thousands of feet in the air. That'd be pretty bad. Probably have a panic attack if you did it yourself. I would never go bungee jumping. I've been rock climbing before. It's been a while. I was in middle school last time I did it. The problem with that, I generally, I mean, I'm a pretty tall person. My feet are pretty big. And it's so hard to get, like, grip with my feet. I try to put them as, like, flat as I can against them. Well, not against the rock, but, like, on top. For anybody that's been rock climbing, you probably know what I'm talking about. But, indoor, by the way, not, like, on a mountainside or anything. Indoor rock climbing. But it was pretty hard for me to, like, get my foot, like, placed properly on there to climb up. I have big feet. Got these size 13.5s, so it's tough to find good foot placement. Yeah, I'm not down with bungee jumping. Curious as to if I'm gonna do a NASCAR Rivals 100% season. I don't plan on it. I don't have a Nintendo Switch. Or plan on getting one just for that. Because I don't really play a lot of games outside of, like, NASCAR games on the channel. Like, outside of the channel, I don't play a whole lot of video games. During the wintertime, I do a little bit more, but that's just because I'm not golfing and doing other stuff outside. I'm not traveling for, you know, NASCAR races and stuff. Pretty much kind of work. I'll do this, but on my days off, outside of getting my workout in the morning, I really have the rest of the day wide open. I'm a big guy, man. 6'4". I can't be 6'4" with like 10-inch shoes. I feel like that would be kind of weird. I don't know of anybody that's tall and has short feet. I feel like if you're tall, you automatically have big feet. I didn't have 13.5 when I was in middle school. It was probably like a kid's rock climbing like wall. I don't think they put me on like the adult size where I was at. I wouldn't think. I would think those walls are probably taller than the kids' ones too, but I'd imagine I probably still have troubles trying to find like footing. I almost should have done the adult one just because my feet were so big. remember slipping a couple times, but because you're kind of hardest in, if you know, I would like grab onto the rock, and like you wouldn't fall or anything. And it'd be slow enough because there was always like somebody like with the rope that was kind of harnessed in like down at the bottom. One of the instructors. 5'12", well, that's 6 foot, right? 5'12", 6 foot wear 10s, 10 and a half. I could see that though. I mean, what's average height for like males? Isn't that like 5? It's probably around there. What, like 5'10", 5'11"? So like you're slightly above average. I can see 10 and a half though. I don't think that's abnormal. I feel like you start to get into like my level where you're like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". I feel like you have to have at least 12-inch shoes. I'm not saying you have to have like 13 and a half like me. Like my feet are big, but I feel like 6'4". If I didn't have 12-inch shoes, I don't know. I feel like I'd have tiny feet if that wasn't the case. Yeah, well, I do wear 13 and a halves now, but at the time, no. No, not when I was in middle school. Shaquille O'Neal with like the size 18s. I didn't think we were going to get into talk about shoe size tonight. These streams take some interesting turns from time to time. Back on the race side of things, we have 30 laps to go. About a 3.4 second lead and growing for Greg Biffle. Still a lot of clean air in front of him. And these guys do not have to pit again before the end of this race. So if it stays green, I think Biffle's going to run and hide. And go for 3 wins in a row. Be a 6th win of the season through 13 races. For winning races 2, 3, and 4. Going 9 races before winning race. 9 races for winning race 11, and then winning 11, 12, and potential 13 tonight. Women have dating profile and won't date. They have weird preferences. It's strange. Like personally, like even as somebody tall like me, I've never looked at like height as being like a difference maker. And maybe that's because like I haven't found anybody like attractive that is like super short. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Maybe psychologically it does, but like if I were to like tell you straight out, I wouldn't say that like if somebody could be too short or too tall for me. I mean, I'm generally taller though too. Like very rarely I've ever even really seen any women that were taller than me. So I probably wouldn't have that problem anyway, but I never really looked at that as like a... I do agree with you though that there are definitely some weird at least 6 foot, saying I'm 5'12", yeah. 5'12" is 6 feet, I mean it's the same amount of inches. Good enough. And that's usually coming from people that are like much shorter than 6 foot. Like I could see maybe to a certain extent if like they were 6 foot, to a certain extent I could see where they're coming from. But if they're like 5'5", you want somebody that's like 6 foot or taller, it's like why? And you're not even going to be able to reach them. Get a hunch in my back. Taller on ice skates, that's true. I mean, that does add a couple inches. An 11 shoe, 5'8". I'd say for your size, you have like bigger feet, but I wouldn't say like big feet. Like I don't think that would look awkward. $5.16. Yeah. That'd be my luck. It's when there's no logic. $25 laps to go. Not this time by, but the following time by. We'll alternate through the different camera angles one more time in today's race when we get back to the start-finish line. For Biffle's sake, hopefully it stays green. The restarts have been wild today, so if we do get a late race caution, which we tend to see from time to time, obviously, that things could get a little interesting those first few laps if Biffle gets put back in traffic. This car doesn't quite handle quite as well. So we'll hope for the best. Can't let any aggressiveness on the restart get the best of him, though. If he doesn't have a good restart, loses a couple positions, can't fight for those positions desperately back. He knows he's got the race car. Just take your time to get around him. Don't risk putting yourself in harm's way of getting in an accident yourself. $4.24. I'm pretty sure there was this kid I went to school with. He was like 6 foot, but he had like a size 14. He had bigger feet than me, and I was like 4 inches. I've pretty much been like 6'4" since my freshman year of high school. I hit that growth spurt. I was pretty tall when I was 15, and I've stayed the same height ever since. For a little bit there, it looked like I was gonna be like, thought it was gonna be like 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", somewhere around there. But I just hit my growth spurt early enough that that was it. 6'3", 6'4" ever since I was 15. Told your vote was a waste because of your beliefs. I should be one of those people that like votes every year, just put random names on the ballot. Put like Carl Edwards' name on the ballot or something. Or even somebody I don't know, just make up like a random name. Last time by at the start-finish line, Greg Biffle has just got word from his crew chief that he has clinched the most laps led, so it'll be a 10 bonus point performance for Biffle. A little over 100 laps led away from leading 1,000 laps on the season through these first 13 races tonight, but not going to be able to lead quite that many. Took him a bit longer to get to the lead today. But it could still be a max points day, and coming in over 70 points out of first, it'd be nice to cut that down. Especially when you consider the fact that Elliott Sadler, the points leader, has been outside the top 10 all day. It'll be interesting to see if he can actually still get a top 10 finish. It's the way it was looking like before green flag pit stops. wasn't looking too good for that to be the case. Mike Bliss has been outside the top 10 for a large portion of the second half of this race today as well. And he's trying to go for 11 straight top 10s in a row. And that's 2 of the 3 drivers in points that are ahead of Biffle coming in. Jeff Gordon, on the other hand, he led some laps today, so he will get 5 bonus points, and he's been in the top pretty much 5 all day long. So it's a good chance that Gordon's going to have a good finish. So I still think he'll be ahead of Biffle in the points. I don't think he's going to make up all of his points over Sadler, but I think he could get by Bliss. It's definitely going to be really tight between the top 3 in points following this race today. And going into Daytona, track I've never won at before on the NASCAR EA Sports Cup Series, or Truck Series for that matter, on the channel. We'll see. I'm just hoping for a top 10, honestly, in the next 2 races on super speedways. I was on the wrong side of a caution or get myself into a mistake or something. Anytime we go to Daytona, it's just terrible luck. I gotta have good track position for about the first 80% of the race, then I'll be like on pit road during the final stop or something, and the caution will come out, trap me back in traffic, and then I like in a wreck on a restart or something. I don't know. I'm just more random stuff at this point. That's just my luck in a nutshell. I've had good finishes every now and then at Daytona, but I've never won. It'd be nice if we could finally do that tomorrow night. Larson's just short. I don't think he's that much shorter than a lot of the other drivers. There's a lot of short drivers in NASCAR. Short meaning like under 6 foot. There's not many drivers that are under 6 feet. Or over 6 feet, I mean. Not many that are over 6 feet. I know Tyler Reddick's pretty short. Oh, jeez. I was looking at the chat a little too long there. It's alright. Got a 9-second lead. We're alright. We'll go to the in-car cam next. 21 laps to go at Speedway Boulevard tonight. And will we stay green to the end of this race? It has been over 60 laps since the last caution. Definitely the longest green flag run of the night. Remember, only read the comments during the corners. Seven-foot driver in NASCAR someday? Probably not. You gotta figure though too, like people that are that tall in general, if they're looking at becoming a professional athlete, they're probably looking at other sports that aren't NASCAR. Like I guarantee, growing up, that kid's playing basketball his whole life. I guarantee it. Like that kid's not getting stuffed in a go-kart when he's 10 years old. His parents are probably making him play basketball, so it's not. I don't feel like it's really on the kid much, and if he kind of gravitates towards that, or like an offensive lineman in football, or or a lineman in football, those guys are usually pretty tall too. They're not 7 feet. But Michael Waltrip and Boris Said are kind of a few of a kind. Being taller race car drivers. Definitely not common. They'd have to get in and out through the roof hatch. Definitely wouldn't be able to... In case of a... You know how dangerous that would be, though, if there was a fire? Not being able to get out through the window net like everybody else, having to go through the top of the car. Take a little longer. It'd almost be more dangerous having a taller guy in the race car versus... shorter person. Checking, right? Surprising we've had this long of a green flag run and green flag pit stops and still no lap traffic at this point that Biffle's had to deal with yet. You kind of see some cars that aren't that far off in the distance in front of him. 19 laps to go right now. I mean, that's really the only hope. Biffle kind of struggled in lap traffic earlier, but that was also when he was on about 40 lap older tires than those that had already pitted in front of him. Now he's on equal tires, if not just a little bit fresher tires than those at the back of the field. And he's got a much bigger lead as well, 11.2 seconds. It was about 3 to 4 seconds the last time he was in this predicament. Now we're down to 18 laps left. Another second gained, a little over a lap. It's 12.5 seconds ahead. Jojo, thanks for tuning in. Chris up Jimmy Spencer's suit. Yeah, Jimmy was a pretty husky guy. I guess you could kind of say the same, though, for Ryan Newman later in his career and Tony Stewart. Jimmy was just a... I wouldn't say so much Tony Stewart as what I would say probably Ryan Newman in the comparison to Jimmy Spencer. Body stature-wise. Shane Meal at the tail end of the field, right in front of Greg Biffle. Biffle closes on the 08. He'll going a bit wide. I don't think Biffle's cleared him yet. Nope, still side by side. Biffle went up, side drafted the 08 just a little bit. Biffle still giving him room in case he's underneath him through turn 2. And they will be side by side into the tunnel. I think there's a little contact between those two across the dirt area of the track, and Biffle ended up in the guardrail up on the outside. That's not the same kind of guardrail you'd usually see on a street course or a road course. That thing would get folded in a hurry if some car hit that at these speeds. We headed straight for the buildings on the right side over there, the fans and the pedestrians in the walkways. Biffle struggling in lap traffic again, just like he did earlier as he's trying to get by the 08 of Meal. Biffle down low. Oh, Meal, a little contact and into the tire barrier, and that's going to bring out a caution. He tried to block Craig Biffle up off the exit of that final corner. Biffle's already really high up on the racetrack and held his line, but the 08 came across his front bumper, and we've got another caution, and it's late in this race. And that is not a caution Greg Biffle wanted to see. He was struggling to get around him there, and he had about a 12-second lead on the rest of the field. But that 12-second lead is gone. And it's going to be a single-file restart. ...2006 speed with the 1950 safety culture. Oh, my gosh. Green flag back in the air. 13 laps to go at Speedway Boulevard. Dale Jr. going to pull out a line into turn 1. Biffle trying to just block for his life into turn 2. Jr. going up the track. He's wide. Biffle goes wide as well, though. And they're 3 wide for second between Edwards, Stewart, and Earnhardt. Earnhardt did not have a good restart. He's side by side into the tunnel now with Ryan Newman for 4th. Edwards and Stewart trying to get their second wins of the year as they follow behind race leader Greg Biffle. Biffle a little wide. That costed him. Trying to block Stewart and Edwards. Jr. back to the inside of the 20. Biffle looking to pull away again. Edwards into second, looking for a 1-2 finish for Roush Fenway Racing. Does the rookie have anything for his teammate being in the same equipment? Good restart for him. Junior back into third as he has gotten by Stewart. And Biffle out to a 7/10 of a second lead, but we have another caution back in the pack, so we're going to have to try it again. More trouble. Man, who is that? Brian Vickers? He went hard into the traffic cones on the outside of the racetrack there. Towards pit road. He had to have gotten help because he was headed at a pretty awkward angle at a pretty high speed, and that's going to bring out yet another caution late in this race. And now we're going to have less than 10 laps to go on the next restart. Biffle survived the first one. He's going to have to survive another one late. Green flag back in the air. And we're down to 9 laps to go. Edwards going to go high into the corner. Biffle right there. Edwards is going to go wide. Contact with Earnhardt. Edwards and Earnhardt making contact. Junior falling back on another restart. I think Edwards tried to throw a block on the outside in turn 2. Newman's up to third now. Trying to get a win. He led a lot of laps at Michigan in the last race. Much better restart this time for Biffle. They're still all over him from behind. As long as he can hang on into the rumble strips, he should be all right. Newman going for second underneath Edwards into the S's. Where has Ryan Newman been all day long? I don't even know that he's been in the top 10 for a whole large portion of this race, but he is up in the thick of things late and trying to contest for the win. Don't know that he's going to be able to do it. It's going to be interesting. We'll see if we get another caution off turn 7. Turn 7, off the final corner. I don't know why I said 7. I think that's because we've had either 7 or 8 cautions today. Well, they made it through that final corner that time around. We'll see if they can continue to do it. Ryan Newman, by the way, is in second place. He was able to clear Carl Edwards on that last lap. But I don't think he's going to have anything for the guy who has dominated the entire final two-thirds of this race, who is still out in front right now, and that would be Greg Biffle. It's been a long time since Biffle hasn't led. In fact, I think he has led every single lap since he took the lead back at lap 53. Because even during the green flag pit stops, he was able to hold on. Guess we have to wonder on how much damage Brian Vickers potentially has from that last caution to see if we get a debris yellow late. If it's with 5 or less laps to go, though, the race could end. So Biffle pulling away right now. Later and later we get before a potential another caution, the more and more likely we have of not even getting another restart. 1.8 second lead right now with 7 to go. Biffle looking good. Couple late scares with back-to-back cautions. Most dominant car all day long. Continues to grow his lead. Halfway on fuel right now, but plenty good to make it to the end. Everybody will actually be good on fuel to the end after their green flag stop earlier in the race. Actually, those cautions were big for Mark Martin because I think he was going to be able to pit. He was the only one that was probably not going to make it. That's because he ended up going a bit wide off that final corner and made an unscheduled green flag stop with a little north of 50 laps to go in the race at the time. 2.7 second lead and growing. Biffle's just so fast right now. That is just an absolute dogfight for second, and they keep changing positions quite a bit back there. Battling side by side. They were 3 wide on the second to last restart we had not that long ago. As they do that, Biffle's only got to pull more and more away with no pressure around him, and the handling's going to be there with nobody directly in front of him, affecting the airflow off the front of the race car aerodynamically. Just 5 laps to go at the start-finish line this time by. And a 3.5 second lead with it. No longer allowed. Bring that car to NASCAR races, forbidden. Too good? Is that what you're saying? Something about the Subway paint schemes is when we tend to pull off some good races for ourselves, for whatever reason. Definitely all working itself out today. But yeah, better than the T-Rex car. I don't know. I mean, it's been fast, but I've had more dominant races in the past on this game, so. Cautions definitely made it interesting today. Once we got to the lead, we were able to stay there through pit stops and really made the race much easier. Needs this kind of a race, they'll sit 4th in points and trying to close. Santiago Kid, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, you're probably happy Jimmy Johnson coming back. So, you gonna be rooting for Jimmy or Bowman then more? Curious question. I know what it's like to have two favorite drivers at a race. It was kind of like that for me with Biffle and Blaney this year. Biffle ran a couple races at the beginning of the year, and then he just kind of disappeared again after that. It's kind of cool, though, in the super speedways. At least he was somewhat competitive there. He was competitive in speed weeks. I think he had a top 10 in his dual race at Daytona. He finished like 8th or 9th. But unfortunately had a mechanical issue like 20 laps into the Daytona 500. I was kind of curious to see how he'd perform. And then Atlanta, you led a lap at one point in time in that race, too, towards the end of stage 2. I was like, oh my gosh. Greg Biffle? Because there was one point Biffle and Blaney were in the top 5, and I think I put something in the community tab at the time, like, I think I'm in paradise. Seeing both those guys up there. Then he had some sort of mechanical issue in the final stage of that one, too. Took him out, even though he was mid-pack or better the entire race. He's a very good super speedway racer, despite the fact he only had one win on a super speedway in his Cup career. That was his first career win at Daytona, and it was on fuel mileage. It wasn't even because he was using the draft well. It's because they had the fuel strategy worked out perfectly. Both, yeah. Two and a half laps to go for Biffle. And he'll get his 6th win of the season. And he's going to try to get one that has been eluding us for quite some time. And that is that first win on a Daytona Oval in the Cup Series on a NASCAR EA Sports video game on the channel. 400 miles, 160 laps tomorrow night under the lights. The Daytona International Speedway for the running of the Pepsi 400 live on KRC. That will begin at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Now an earlier start time than what this race was tonight. Down to 2 to go, though, this time by for Biffle. 5.5 second lead nearly. So he works his way off the final corner to the start-finish line. Things are going very well for him. Had that to you being a Kansas fan 2020. So who's your favorite driver now, then? You're rooting for a couple guys that year. Or are you just talking about, like, your favorite driver coming back? I mean, I guess junior fans technically have that in the Xfinity Series once or twice a year, too. It'd be cool to see Jimmy Johnson racing again next year in the 500. Could you imagine if he goes out and wins the Daytona 500 next year? I think he should just quit if he does that. It's like, nope. Third Daytona 500, just not too many guys have even done that. You're already 7-time champ, just call it quits. He had a figure, though, too. He's so close to passing a couple other people on the wins list. If he can somehow get another win or two, I think he can move himself up to 4th, I believe, if he just wins 2 more races. White flag in the air, 1 lap to go for Biffle at Speedway Boulevard on our Daytona Beach street course race tonight. He has dominated pretty much the entire final 2/3 of the race. After starting last in this one to pull off 3 wins in a row, but it's going to be tough to get 4 at Daytona tomorrow night. Consider I've never won there in the Cup Series on an EA Sports game on the channel, so we'll see if we can end that long streak. Oh, I got a little loose off that corner, getting back onto the asphalt. Could you imagine if I like totaled the car right there? That would be terrible. It wasn't that big of a hit into the wall. It cost him about a second of his lead, but he's still about 5 seconds ahead of everybody else. With a little more than a quarter of a track to go. Into the rumble strips for the final time. For these 5 corners. And another road course win for Greg Biffle this season. He has been the road course ringer. winning the Daytona road course. The Talladega road course was won by Mark Martin. Roush Fenway. Devil's Canyon won by Biffle. New York Metro Speedway won by Biffle, and now at Speedway Boulevard, he'll get a win. Checkered flag for Greg Biffle, another victory on the season. We have won 4 of the, 6 road course races so far this season? That is unbelievable. And we still got more to go. Kind of narrow to do the burnout right here. Should have went to the rumble strips and tried to do it. Actually, I'm going to do that. Give ourselves a little more space. I don't know if I can do a burnout on the rumble strips though, but I'll try. Oh yeah, it actually works. Actually, it probably causes more tire smoke. And that's a burnout right there. That's a Joey Logano-esque burnout. And we walled it. Alrighty. Well, we've got to look at the finishing results here, and then we'll have to look at the point standings. 9 cautions for 27 caution laps in today's race. 6 lead changes, 88.71 miles per hour is the average race speed. 7 of those cautions came in the first 50 laps of the race, but we only had 2 in the final, 83 laps? And 2 of them were right in the final 20. Greg Biffle leads 79 to the 133 laps today, getting the most laps led in the win, scoring a max points day of 190 points scored. Ryan Newman out of nowhere came up to finish in second. He also started deep in the field with Biffle. Carl Edwards ends up third for Roush Fenway Racing, Tony Stewart fourth, and Dale Jr. rounds out the top 5 and 5th. All second through 5th place drivers did not lead any laps. Jeff Gordon led 31 laps from the pole, finishes in 6th. Jimmy Johnson 7th with no laps led. Kurt Busch led 21 laps, finishing in 8th place today after starting on the outside of the front row in 2nd. Dale Jarrett finishes in 9th, and Mike Bliss finishes 10th. That is 11 straight top 10 finishes for Mike Bliss this season, which is absolutely insane because he was outside the top 10 most of the second half of this race, but those late race restarts he was able to get back in, I guess. Sadler's top 3 streak comes to an end. He had 4 straight top 3 finishes, ends up finishing just outside the top 10 and 12th today. Matt Kenseth ends up finishing 13th, and Mark Martin, our other Roush Fenway teammate, had an unscheduled pit stop at one point earlier. He still finished on the lead lap in 28th, but was running in 14th at the time of that actually taking place with a little over 50 laps to go. It's just too late for him to really try to come back in this one. Another win for Roush Fenway Racing this year. That is 9 wins in 13 races for Roush this season. Edwards has 1, Mark Martin has 2, Biffle has 6 in the first 13. And Hendrick Motorsports still has yet to win a race this season. We've got a great schedule of races coming up here for the Cup Series Custom Schedule season. Again, the Pepsi 400 at Daytona will be tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next race after that is going to be our next trip to Talladega for the UAW Ford 500. And then we go to Bristol after that for the first time this season for the Food City 500 day race. We go to IRP with the Cup cars for race 17, followed by the Brickyard 400 for race 18 with an Indianapolis/Indy double header. So next 5 races, a lot of big ones coming up on the channel yet on the middle portion of this custom schedule season. Summer months, if you will. Winter chicken dinner with a side of mashed potatoes, corn on the cob, squash, peach cobbler. That is a big meal. Well, Jeff Gordon's actually going to take the points lead with the top 5 finish today for himself. 1 point ahead of Elliott Sadler. Sadler led in points for about 4 or 5 races before that. He'll lose the lead now. Actually, Robert Yates Racing as a whole led for about 5 races in a row. Jarrett led for a few, and then Sadler led for a couple. But Jarrett back to 5th in points now. Actually, I guess he stays in 5th because he was 5th coming in. and he ended up with a top 10, so he actually gained points on Elliott Sadler, finishing in the top 10 today, with Sadler not finishing top 10, but still 81 out. Greg Biffle up to third, which I kind of expected with the win, and Mike Bliss being as far back as what he was. Bliss still got a top 10, but no laps led with that. Biffle outscored him by quite a bit. And, yeah, third in points, 17 out of first. Going into Daytona tomorrow night. Should be an interesting one. And the top 6 are still within one race worth of points of each other. Crazy. After 13 races, it's still that jam-packed together. Let's see here. Especially the season-long points format, too. It's going to be interesting down the stretch if it's still going to stay that close to a 36-race schedule or not. But so far, it has. You got a couple underdogs in there as well. Sadler and Bliss. Bliss still looking for that first career win. Came close in Michigan. Tony Stewart ends up he is 7th at points. 171 back. Carl Edwards 176 back. Kurt Busch 191 back. So those guys still definitely within striking distance. Just over one race worth of points out. Kenza 215 back at 10th, and Mark Martin back at 14th is a little bit of a ways back. Really, you get outside the top 12 in points. It's pretty tough after that to try to overclimb 300 points, but it's possible. I mean, we were able to do it in the Busch Series last season. But these guys are running out of time to be able to do that, though. We have a little over 20 races to go, so we're going to have to get a move on. Newman does have a win this season. He did finish second. He's just got to get the consistency. He's either competing for wins or he's just not getting good finishes at all. Let me check real quick. He doesn't have that many top 10s this season. I'm keeping track for everybody. He's got 6 top 10s in 13. Well, I guess this was 7. So he's got 7 top 10s in 13 races. So that's why he's not quite as consistent. He's still got less top 10s than Mike Bliss, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards, Elliott Sadler, Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Greg Biffle, Tony Stewart. And Dale Jarrett's got the same amount as him. And Bobby Labonte has the same amount as him as well. So he's pretty far back. Honestly, everybody in points that's ahead of him pretty much has more top 10s than him. Except for Harvick. Harvick's got one more than him. He's kind of been the same way. No consistency. Only he doesn't have a win. So that's probably the difference between him and Newman in points. That's going to wrap up tonight's stream, though. Like, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Hit that bell notification button so you guys don't miss another stream, another upload. We've got an interesting video that will be uploaded on the channel tomorrow. And don't forget, Throwback Thursdays. During the offseason, we'll be watching some old Daytona 500 starting Thursday night. That's what we'll be streaming there. Not sure on what year yet. Be on the lookout in the community tab. We'll have a poll up either tomorrow or Wednesday on what race we're going to watch first this weekend. So thanks, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Pepsi 400 live on KRC at Daytona.